This picture of Walker next to the sports car was taken moments before the crash was taken. Moments before the crash, it was taken at a fundraiser which he organized. This picture right here was taken at a fundraiser he organized to assist victims of the recent Philippines typhoon.
There's something beautiful about the final photographs of the stars we grew up watching. The laughter, the gazes, the way time quietly reshaped the faces that once defined entire eras remind us that even legends are mortal. Yet as we look at these images, it's not sadness that lingers, but memory. You can almost hear the soft hum of old projectors and the faint applause of a time long gone. These last photos don't capture fame or performance. They capture the peace, reflection, and the grace of stars before they died out from our skies. They are snapshots of quiet mornings, unguarded smiles, and the in-between moments that fame never scripted. Each one feels like a farewell note, so join us as we flick through the reel of our collective memory and final appearances, where these legendary actors never truly faded. Marilyn Monroe. Few names in Hollywood pull as much fascination and melancholy as Marilyn Monroe. She was born Norma Jean Mortensen and later became the brightest face of 1950s America. Everyone could agree that she was a symbol of beauty, charm, and the tragedy that often accompanies fame. Her roles in Some Like It Hot, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and The 7-Year Itch established her as the undisputed diva of the silver screen. Yet behind that golden glow was a woman struggling with loneliness, insomnia, and the crushing expectations of an adoring world. In June of 1962, just 6 weeks before her death, she posed for photographer Bert Stern at the Bel Air Hotel in Los Angeles. The session, later published as The Last Sitting, remains one of the most haunting photo collections in pop culture history. Draped in sheer scarves and soft light, she appears playful and bright, yet many can capture a quiet sadness behind her eyes. On the 5th of August, 1962, she was found dead in her Brentwood home from a probable barbiturate overdose at just 36 years old. These photos, taken a month and a half before her passing, would become her final portraits. James Dean. The story of James Dean reads like a legend cut short mid-sentence. In just 3 major films, namely East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and Giant, he became the face of restless youth and tragic rebellion. His quiet intensity, that mix of defiance and vulnerability, made him not just a movie star, but a myth. On the 30th of September, 1955, he was photographed at a gas station in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles, leaning against his silver Porsche 550 Spider, which he nicknamed Little Bastard. He was en route to a car race in Salinas, California. The image captures him smiling faintly, relaxed, unaware that within hours the road would take his life. Later that same afternoon, near Cholame, his car collided head-on with another vehicle. He was just 24 years old at the time of his death. The time between that photo and his death was no more than a few hours, yet the image carries decades of meaning. It feels almost like a rebel, frozen at the edge of fate. The irony of his death is that a man who was deeply defined by speed ultimately died in its pursuit. Speaking of another actor who was defined by speed, let's take a look at our next beloved actor, Paul Walker. For an entire generation, Paul Walker embodied the charisma of adrenaline-fueled adventure. As the star of the Fast and the Furious series, he wasn't just an actor. He was the heart of a cinematic brotherhood built on loyalty, family, and speed. Off-screen, he was known for his humility, warmth, and humanitarian work through his charity, Reach Out Worldwide. On the 30th of November 2013, he attended a charity event in Santa Clarita, California, to raise funds for victims of Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. He was photographed chatting with friends, laughing beside his friend and driver, Roger Rodas, moments before stepping into a red Porsche Carrera GT. The photo, taken literally minutes before the crash, shows him at ease, dressed casually in jeans and a t-shirt, unaware that this would be his final moment in front of a camera. Within an hour, tragedy struck. The Porsche lost control and burst into flames, killing both men instantly. Paul was 40 years old. His final photograph now serves as both a memorial and a warning, a fleeting capture of a man who lived fast but gave back even faster. The smile he wore that day still echoes with warmth to fans. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Few actors in modern cinema carried as much emotional weight as Philip Seymour Hoffman. His performances from Capote to The Master were symphonies of humanity, filled with empathy and pain. Philip wasn't a star who performed for applause. He performed to understand the world around him. Yet behind his brilliance lay a lifelong battle with addiction that would ultimately take his life. In January 2014, just weeks before his death, he attended the Sundance Film Festival in Utah. There, he sat for a tintype portrait session that would become his last known photograph. The image, captured in the antique style of 19th century photography, presents him somber but calm, with eyes that seem to carry the weight of decades. Roughly 1 month later, on the 2nd of February 2014, he was found dead in his New York apartment of an accidental overdose. He was 46 at the time of his death. The photograph captured the last public moments of a man who had given so much of himself to his craft. Carrie Fisher. To millions, Carrie Fisher was more than Princess Leia. She was a voice of strength, sarcasm, and survival. The daughter of Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher, she grew up under Hollywood's harshest lights, but carved out her own identity through her writing, wit, and candor about mental health and addiction. In December 2016, she was photographed with a fan before preparing to board a flight to Los Angeles after completing a European press tour. Dressed comfortably and smiling faintly, she appeared tired but content. An image that would become painfully significant just hours later, when she suffered cardiac arrest mid-flight. She passed away 4 days afterwards, on the 27th of December 2016, at 60 years old. That photograph showed her looking just like any traveler returning home, unaware that her time was measured in hours. Her mother's passing the following day after her death added an extra layer of sadness to the picture for later audiences. Robin Williams. Robin Williams was a singular force of joy and sorrow in equal measure, an improvisational genius whose laughter could flip into startling emotional depth, an actor whose work in Good Will Hunting, Dead Poets Society, Mrs. Doubtfire, and many more revealed both brilliance and vulnerability. He died at age 63 on the 11th of August 2014 at his home in Paradise Cove, California. The cause was ruled self-harm by asphyxia, and later revealed to be complicated by undiagnosed Lewy body dementia. His last publicly noted photograph is from what appears to be an art gallery opening in the San Francisco Bay Area on the 9th of August, 2014, just 2 days before his passing. In the photo, he's described as wearing all black, smiling and interacting at the event, though those who saw him say he appeared tired. The proximity between that afternoon's image and his death gives a heartbreaking blow to all his fans. He was, at the time, a man still moving among friends, a celebrity still visible in public, mere days from the end. Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger was a bright, short-lived flame of the cinema. He was an Australian actor whose short career burned bright, from The Things I Hate About You to Brokeback Mountain, culminating in his legendary, Oscar-winning turn as the Joker in The Dark Knight. On the 22nd of January, 2008, he died at age 28 in his Manhattan apartment from an accidental overdose of prescription medications. The last widely accepted public image of him comes from mid-January 2008. Some reports place the exact date of the picture around 18th to 20th of January during the filming of the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, where he appears visibly fatigued, intense, perhaps burdened. The interval from that photo to his death was roughly 3 to 5 days. Betty White. Betty White was television royalty in her time. She was a pioneering actress whose charm, wit, and long life made her a beloved fixture for over 7 decades, from The Mary Tyler Moore Show to The Golden Girls, and through to her late-life resurgence in memes and social media trends. She died at the age of 99 on the 31st of December 2021, just days before her 100th birthday. According to her longtime assistant, one of her last shared photographs was taken on the 20th of December 2021, just about 11 days before her death, in which she appears radiant, impeccably dressed in a bright outfit and smiling. That image stands as a joyful final portrait of a woman who seemed timeless. Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman embodied heroes on screen from Jackie Robinson to James Brown, and his most iconic T'Challa, the Black Panther. Meanwhile, in real life off the screen, he showed courage by quietly battling colon cancer for 4 years. He died at age 43 on the 28th of August, 2020, at his home in Los Angeles. His last publicly shared photograph appears on social media, in a post of him with then U.S. Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris in November 2019, and a live Instagram session in early 2020, placing the interval between his final image and death at about 8 to 9 months later. Because he hid the illness from the public's eye, his last photo is more symbolic than many else on this list. Yet that gap embodies his struggle to be a hero on screen, and one to himself in real life. Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve will always be linked with Superman, that hopeful, leaping over buildings hero, but his life beyond the cape was even more remarkable. Paralyzed from the neck down after a horse riding accident in 1995, he became a tireless advocate for spinal cord research and served as an example of resilience until his death at the age of 52 on the 10th of October 2004, due to heart failure stemming from an infected pressure sore. One of his final public appearances took place on the 4th of October 2004, when he gave a speech at the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago. Photographs from that day show him in a wheelchair, presenting to an audience, active and engaged. The interval between that photo and his death was just 6 days. That last image shows a man still fighting, still present, still visible, and days later the light went out. Sridevi. Sridevi Kapoor, often known simply as Sridevi, was one of Indian cinema's most celebrated and versatile actresses, seamlessly crossing the Hindi, Tamil, and Telugu film industries. From her breakthrough as a child star to hits like Mr. India, Chandni, Lamhe, and the later English Vinglish, she embodied charisma, emotional depth with both commercial and critical success. On the 24th of February, 2018, she died in Dubai at age 54 from accidental drowning, an event that shocked the film world and her legion of fans. She had attended a family wedding earlier that day. a photograph taken just hours before her death shows her at the wedding festivities in Dubai, dressed elegantly, smiling, flanked by her daughter Kushi and husband Boney Kapoor. The interval between that image and her passing is extremely short, just mere hours showing the beautiful star fully alive, captured in a moment of joy, and then gone. Cloris Leachman. Cloris Leachman's career spanned nearly 8 decades, marked by comedic brilliance, adaptability, and enduring popularity. She earned an Oscar for The Last Picture Show, became a television staple on The Mary Tyler Moore Show and Phyllis, and later embraced younger audiences through films like Spanglish and Raising Hope. She passed away at age 94 on the 27th of January, 2021, in Encinitas, California, after a brief illness. One of her final publicly circulated photographs was taken at a Hollywood event just days before her passing, where she was seated and smiling, still radiating humor and warmth even as frailty softened her edges. The image was taken within a few days of her death, making it feel like the final curtain call of a performer still connecting with her audience right up to the end. Anne Heche. Anne Heche's career was defined by boldness and transformation from soap opera fame to major film roles in Donnie Brasco and 6 Days, 7 Nights, to deeply personal public struggles. On the 11th of August, 2020, at the age of 53, she died following a car crash in Los Angeles that left her in a coma for several days. A widely shared photograph shows her at a Venice Beach salon on the 5th of August, 2022, just hours before the crash, purchasing a bright red wig. The shop owner, Richard Glass, posted the selfie later, writing that she was full of life. The interval between that photo and her death was about 6 days. She never regained consciousness after the accident. The picture's ordinary joy of a quick stop for a wig now shows how fleeting the echo of life is. Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry became an icon of 1990s television through Friends, where his portrayal of Chandler Bing blended sarcasm, charm, and vulnerability to the audience. His later years were marked by openness about addiction, recovery, and advocacy for sober living. On the 28th of October, 2023, he died at age 54 in his Los Angeles home. The coroner's report cited acute effects of ketamine combined with drowning and coronary artery disease. His final known public photograph, taken on the 27th of October, 2023, shows Perry at the Hotel Bel Air, seated on a patio in casual wear, chatting with a friend, relaxed and engaged. The interval between this photograph and his passing was roughly 24 hours. The image was a tribute to a man who'd made peace with his past, enjoying a calm evening, frozen in time, unaware of how brief that calm would be. Olivia Newton-John. Dame Olivia Newton-John was a global treasure, a singer, actress, and humanitarian who blended softness with resilience. Her role as Sandy in 1978's Grease remains iconic even today, while her music career yielded timeless hits like Physical and Hopelessly Devoted to You. She battled breast cancer for 3 decades before passing away at age 73 on the 8th of August, 2022, at her California ranch. Her last public photograph, shared on Instagram on the 6th of August, 2022, shows her sitting outdoors beside her husband, John Easterling, smiling serenely into the camera. The caption simply read, "Love and Light." She died 2 days later. Our next actor is undoubtedly known to book readers and movie watchers alike due to his iconic performance, Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman was an actor of extraordinary range, voice, and presence. His skill was first observed from his chilling debut as Hans Gruber in 1988's Die Hard, to the soft-spoken villain Severus Snape in the Harry Potter series, to sympathetic roles in Sense and Sensibility, Galaxy Quest, and Love Actually. He was born in England in 1946 and later trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, where he rose early in theater before transitioning into film. His voice, diction, and ability to inhabit characters almost effortlessly made him one of the most respected actors of his generation. He died on the 14th of January, 2016, at the age of 69 in London, from pancreatic cancer that he had kept private. In one of his final public photographs, he appears at a London theatre event in late December 2015, smiling and greeting fans, dressed in a classic dark suit and tie, with his trademark ruffled hair. The image was published in multiple outlets after his passing, described as one of the last widely released photos of him alive. The interval between that event photograph and his death is about 3 to 4 weeks. Patrick Swayze. Patrick Swayze was a multi-talented performer, being a dancer, singer, and actor, which is a rare triple threat. He gained fame in 1987's Dirty Dancing as Johnny Castle, 1990's Ghost as Sam Wheat, which earned him an Oscar nomination, and Point Break as Bodhi. His athleticism, charm, and emotional access made him a heartthrob in the 80s and 90s. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in early 2008, but continued to act and record music until shortly before his passing. He died at the age of 57 on the 14th of September 2009 in Los Angeles, after a long battle with the disease. One of the final widely circulated photographs of Swayze shows him in early September 2009, seated outdoors at a public appearance in Los Angeles, where he looked leaner in frame, dressed in a dark blazer, with a faint smile on his face, still engaging with fans. Press coverage described the photo as one of his last public images. The interval from that photo to his death is about 10 days. This final image is striking not just because of the time span, but because it shows him visibly continuing his craft despite illness. A star once known for physical vitality, now visibly fatigued but still present, still connecting. Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder was an actor and writer whose work went beyond mere comedy. His roles in 1971's Willy Wonka and The Chocolate Factory, 1974's Blazing Saddles, and Young Frankenstein mixed absurdity with heart. His ability to play awkwardness, warmth, and neurotic genius all at once made him a beloved figure in film. He died at the age of 83 on the 29th of August, 2016, in Stamford, Connecticut, from complications of Alzheimer's disease, which he had kept private. Towards the end of his life, he lived quietly, away from frequent press appearances. One of his final publicly circulated photographs was with his wife Karen, relaxed and smiling weakly, clearly in later years at the 2015 U.S. Open. Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was a comedian and actor whose warmth and versatility made him a mainstay of the ensemble cast on Saturday Night Live and the voice of multiple animated characters on The Simpsons. He died tragically at the age of 49 on the 28th of May, 1998, in Encino, California. He was unfortunately murdered in his home by his wife Lisa, who then took her own life. A photograph widely brought up as his last shows him either the evening before or the day of his death, a backstage candid at a Los Angeles show, with him dressed in a casual blazer and holding a microphone, smiling broadly while speaking to a fellow cast member. Press archival sites from 1998 dated the image to late May, placing the interval between photo and death at 24 to 48 hours. Glen Campbell. Glen Campbell was a musician and actor whose guitar skills and voice earned him teen idol status in the 1960s and 70s, and later a respected elder statesman of music and screen. He appeared in films such as 1969's True Grit and hosted his own TV show, The Glen Campbell Good Time Hour. He died at the age of 81 on the 8th of August, 2017, in Nashville, Tennessee, from complications of Alzheimer's disease, which he had publicly announced in 2011. In June 2017, he was photographed at a Nashville concert, seated on stage in a wheelchair while his illness was now advanced, holding his guitar and smiling at the audience. This was one of the last public images of him performing. That photo was taken about 2 months before his death. While the gap is longer than some others, the image remains the last major performance photo widely circulated. Next on our list is a veteran who protected many lives in his service days and transitioned into a career where he entertained audiences far and wide. Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, often called the King of Cool, built a career on a blend of rugged charisma and effortless style in films like Bullet, The Great Escape, The Thomas Crown Affair, and Papillon. He was born on the 24th of March, 1930, in Beech Grove, Indiana. He later served in the U.S. Marines, after which he was trained in acting and became a top film star of the 1960s and 70s. In the late 1970s, he was diagnosed with pleural mesothelioma, which is a lung cancer-related illness, after exposure to asbestos during his time in the Marines and while doing racing stunts. He died on the 7th of November, 1980, at the age of 50 in Juarez, Mexico, after surgery for metastatic cancer. One of his last publicly known photographs appears to be from 1980, where he was standing outside a restaurant in Verduras, Mexico. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando's name is shorthand for 20th century screen revolution. He helped bring method acting to mainstream cinema and redefined intensity and naturalism in performances from A Streetcar Named Desire to On the Waterfront and The Godfather. His career was a study in contradictions. By the early 2000s, he had largely withdrawn from Hollywood's glare and was spending long stretches at his Los Angeles home. In the closing weeks of his life, he was photographed being assisted in a wheelchair. One of the other widely shared photographs shows him seated at his Beverly Hills residence in late June 2004, where he appeared gaunt, pale, and breathing with evident difficulty. Press coverage after his death noted that he had been increasingly reclusive, yet had recorded a single line for the Godfather video game, and had been in contact with old friends, mainly family and confidants, who described the last 3 weeks of his life as a slow withdrawal. That makes the interval between the available last photographs and his death roughly a matter of weeks, not hours, images that captured him in retreat rather than in sudden collapse. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor's life was as much public drama as it was a private struggle. She was a child star who became a glamorous icon, a 2-time Academy Award winner for Butterfield 8 and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, while also being a tireless AIDS activist in later years. She remained a media magnet into old age, celebrated for diamond-studded glamour and incandescent screen presence. She died of congestive heart failure on the 23rd of March 2011, at the age of 79. In the months leading up to her death, she accepted limited access for a photographer to document parts of her Bel Air home and collections as her possessions were being prepared for auction. Photographer Catherine Opie's sessions in early 2011 and selected images published in profiles and retrospectives are among the last formal, documentary-style visual records of her. Those images show her surrounded by the artifacts of a life like her jewelry, makeup, photographs, and intimate corners of a famously lavish household. Other photographs circulated of her in public or at private gatherings in the month before her death, showing her in a wheelchair or with oxygen, showing clear signs of frailty that contrasted with the sparkle of earlier decades. The interval between these late-life photographs and her March 2011 death is on the order of weeks to months, since the Opie shoot and media profiles were documented in the first half of 2011. Sean Connery. Sean Connery, who is known to fans as the original cinematic James Bond, combined physicality, gravitas, and a sly sense of humor across a long career that included Dr. No, The Untouchables, for which he won an Oscar, and numerous stage and screen roles. He died on the 31st of October 2020, at 90 years old. In the months immediately before his death, outlets published photos of him at private family gatherings and low-key celebrations, with images showing him seated beside his wife, hand in hand with family members, often smiling but visually older. One widely shared image published after news of his death shows him celebrating a family occasion with his wife and a small circle of friends. Other recent photos used in obituaries were taken within the preceding year. Those final family photographs placed the interval between the last public visuals and his death at weeks to a few months, rather than a single final dramatic image. And finally on our list, a star who touched many both in life and death, whose lifetime achievements have immortalized him in memories. Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier broke Hollywood barriers as the first black actor to win the Academy Award for Best Actor for his role in Lilies of the Field. His dignified presence on screen and in films like In the Heat of the Night and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner made him a symbol of talent and moral authority. He died on the 6th of January, 2022, at the age of 94. In his final years, he made occasional family appearances and accepted Lifetime Achievement honors as photo essays published after his death, collected images spanning decades, and included recent family snapshots and event photos. One of the last circulated public photos shows him on a beach with family members taken around his 94th birthday celebrations, a candid, tender moment that circulated on social media and in outlets memorializing his life. That photograph is separated from his death by weeks. What do you think of these stars and the last picture taken of them? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops.